Okay, Joni, can you pull a roll? I'd like to start the meeting at 5:30 for the October 20th, 2021 meeting for the Board of Trustees for Joliet Junior College. Joan, can you please read a roll call?
Broderick,
Present.
Bazinski,
Here.
Garcia Guillen,
Present.
Lee,
Here.
Lozano,
Present.
Mahalik,
Here.
Morales, and O'Connell.
Good. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone both virtually and physically there. I'm glad to see all of you. It's a big welcome to me because I like the fact that I'm here and not in a hospital bed in a coma like I was last month. So I'm glad to see all your cheery faces and see everyone present at the meeting. And with that, I'd like to ask David to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. David, would you be glad to do that?
To the flag of the United States
Of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you, David. Any public comments, Joan?
No request to speak before the board, Madam Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Mitchell, we have business reports, and I understand that you have one for 1.1.1.1 for the Iccb enrollment report.
Right. I'd like to invite Kristen Ciesmeyer. Kristen should be here remotely to provide you an update on the economic impact and student outcome study conducted by the Iccb. Kristen?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to pull up the slides. And a little bit of feedback on what we call the EIS, or the Economic Impact Study, and this is conducted by the Illinois Community College Board in collaboration with Northern Illinois University. And they do this approximately every 5 years or so, and this is an opportunity for each of the 48 community colleges to get information that Northern Illinois University prepares about the return on investment and educational attainment for the students in the community. And Dr. Mitchell was one of their advisory team members for this project this year. Start with the best news. In the beginning, you'll actually find this on the very last page, in the very last paragraph of the document that you have. But as you know, JJC employs about 1,100 employees, but due to the $82.8 million annually that we spend, we actually employ about an additional 332 individuals in our area. And so the total value added of the fact that JJC exists in this area is about $81.2 million. In terms of our connection with the community, in 2019 and 2020, we did a collection of data to find out how many employers our various programs were connecting with in our district. And in 2019, we had almost 2,100 employers that we were actually working with that served on advisory boards, or we connected with in other ways at the college. And in 2020, even with the pandemic going on, we still were able to connect with over 1,600 employers in a variety of different ways. So we are paying attention to those needs. When we talk about the needs of our students after they graduate, we've also found that within the first year or so, they're between 75 and about 85% of those students were employed in careers that they were actually trained for at JJC. And within 10 years of graduation, at least 90% of our students were employed in the careers that they were trained for. And so this is very good news. And as you take a look at the rest of the document, you'll see that there's 4 other areas. We're going to just take a quick peek at those: population, business and industry connections, equity, which is a focus of the Illinois Community College Board, and then, as you might expect, the coronavirus pandemic. So when we take a look at what we can expect in the next few years coming up, we find that between the ages of 15 and 19, so those are students that we already see are in the schools so we can get a prediction for those. We're expecting that there'll be a decrease in the JJC district of about 2,000 students. So that means that for the typical number that would come to JJC, we would also expect to see a decrease. However, when we take a look at the ages of students from 20 to 24, those are projected to remain relatively constant. Looking at the demographics of our area, we'll find that the Asian and Latinx populations are expected to grow. And what that means percentage-wise then is we would see a decline in our white population. But overall, as we take a look at the district in the next 10 years, the district will still be majority white as it is right now. When we take a look at our current needs, I don't think you'll find anything here that would be surprising to you as we take a look at the distribution that's growing in our area. Obviously, the demand for truck driving is going to continue to stay strong, as well as people working in those distribution centers. Also, comes as no surprise, nursing and other healthcare fields will also be strong. And if you take a look at where we're currently also seeing a number of jobs being advertised in would be in retail trade, administrative support, waste management, remediation, and again, healthcare and social assistance across the board. When we take a look going forward into the future, what can we expect to see happening due to attrition as people begin to retire, in particular as the baby boom generation begins to retire? We're going to need more truck drivers. Again, no surprises there. Nursing assistants as the population ages, and automotive service technicians to support that demand for not only truck drivers, but people will still be driving on our roads. And we've even know that some of those will go into the green industries and what's happening there. So if we take a look at equity and what we can expect, our district, much like the whole state of Illinois, ethnic and racial income disparities are still significant and persistent. So they have been for the last 10 years. There has been some minor change in terms of the number of white persons below the poverty level, while all other races and ethnic groups, the numbers at the poverty level has actually declined. When we take a look at the populations and how they're doing as far as completing high school and post-secondary education, we find that that has remained relatively stable, and persistently the Latinx populations are still significantly lower in terms of their ability to graduate from high school and beyond. When we take a look at the types of occupations, the jobs that require an associate degree, this is the list of those that are highest upon the list, and you'll see that the, I'm sorry, it just jumped out. You'll see that that list has a number of median hourly wages, and that in 2020 we have a variety of jobs. These all require associate degrees, and as is typical and has been typical, the non-white and Latinx individuals are underrepresented in these areas, and we'd like to see some improvement in those. Last but not least, coronavirus pandemic. We know that the unemployment trends in our area, as opposed to around the state and local areas, Chicago area, for example, have been pretty much the same. What we saw and how we were impacted is pretty much the same as everywhere else in terms of food preparation, education, arts, entertainment. So service occupations were primarily the ones that we see there that were applying for unemployment insurance. And last but not least, just wanted to share this. bit of information. If you were to take a look at one of our students who spends 2 years with us to obtain an associate degree, total cost for, if they were looking at housing as well as tuition and everything else, would be around $30,000, just a little bit over $29,000. If you were to then take a look at the amount that they're going to earn if they're after they've invested that $29,000 in a 2-year degree, and how much more they would earn over a 40-year working life. It's estimated to be $540,000 because they've earned that associate degree. If a student were to take that same $29,000 and invest it, they would have to get a 26.2% annual return in order to make an equivalent amount of money. So overall, earning an associate degree at JJC is a valuable experience for them and a very good return on their investment.
Thank you. I like that return on investment as a business person. That is a great return on investment. So, and great report too. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Great report. Just as what I've learned as being in the hospital for 30 days, I got to say this: the nursing, the CNAs, it's a big, big issue. They at Silver Cross, they are basically they have a lot of traveling nurses because there's such a shortage, and the shortage is well known. I was on 3 different floors, and in the ICU, they're short. And I was surprised to see traveling nurses that stay 3 months and then go 3 months somewhere else. And there is a big bonus for that. But getting that degree is huge.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions or comments for her?
No, so just so the board knows, you have a comprehensive, the full report in your packet as well. We encourage you to review that. And then at the college, we take this information, much of it will be shared in the State of the College event that will come up in November, in addition to sharing this information with our campus community as well.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for the report.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right, next on to 1.1.2, Spanish translation.
Okay, I would like to ask Jim Sir to provide an update with the board. This was one of the final requests that Trustee Garcian brought to the board about the sign language interpreter for Spanish, a live interpreter. So Jim Sir and his team have done that research, and they'd like to provide a report for you this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Good evening, Board of Trustees. I really just have a brief update. Joan did share the previous presentation that we gave back in May, I believe. And so I will share a brief update to that based on the additional research and quotes that we've obtained on this topic. So I'm not going to run through, of course, the entire presentation again. I will go down here to the updated slide. Just waiting for this to go into presentation mode. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so if we look at our summary of costs and the solutions that we're providing within the monthly board meetings, of course, the Microsoft Teams and live event technology is in place. We have an in-the-room ASL interpreter at board meetings now. That is in place. We are also doing live Spanish captioning through a separate meeting link. That has been in place now for a few board meetings as well. So we're doing all of those things at this point, and we've been asked to also take a look at live Spanish audio translation. And so what we found, we have a couple of quotes from different providers of that service and solution that are about $5 per minute. And at 2 hours per meeting for 11 meetings, we'd be looking at $6,600 annually to provide live Spanish audio translation to the meeting. So it works out to about $300 per hour or $600 per monthly meeting to provide that additional service. There is another option by a company called Kudo, which leverages their own technology that we could provide an additional link, but that service and solution would be about $24,000 per year. So in addition to the board meetings, we could leverage Kudo for a variety of other meetings, presentations, events, etc. We could also leverage that technology for over and above just the board meeting. So we have a couple of quotes, like I said, about $600 for a 2-hour meeting, and then it scales up from there. If we want to go beyond the board meetings and offer the solution college-wide, we'd be looking at $24,000 per year. And so what would happen is that we would provide a third meeting link. So we have our live meeting link, we have our Spanish caption link, and then we would have a third meeting link for folks that wanted to watch the meeting and listen to live Spanish audio for the monthly board meetings, which is the quote we have for, again, about $600 for a 2-hour monthly meeting, or $6,600 annually. So, Dr. Mitchell, that's we had a brief update for tonight. That's in essence the additional cost to provide that service to our monthly meetings, and then I will hold to see if there's any additional questions or discussion on this topic.
Jim,
Jim, I have a question.
Sure.
Can you monitor when we're doing the existing ones to see how many are using it? Because 24,000 to me is quite a lot. And if we have, and I'm looking right now who's online, and I'm not seeing anyone that's different as far as needing the translation for Spanish right now. I'm not seeing that. Is there a way of filtering so we can see how much is going so that we know if there's a need for it? Because both of the trustees, Trustee Garcia and Trustee Morales, have brought this up. But in the years that I've been there, I haven't seen anyone come to us to directly ask for it. So I think we need to see a need in order to justify a cost.
Yeah, I'll tell you that for the past few meetings, we have peaked on the Spanish caption viewing of the meeting at about 10 or 11 users total for each of the meetings. That's been the max that we've seen. I think last month, I'll have to validate these numbers, but I think at last month's meeting, we only had a max of 3 users on the Spanish caption event for the board meeting. So, we're not seeing a ton of traffic. We also understand that it's important to provide these types of services to the community as well. But right now, the traffic, like I said, is maxed out on a Spanish caption link at about 10 or 11 max per meeting.
Okay, as long as the trustees are aware of that there is minimal right now, and to look at what we already do provide, and do we need to provide the additional? So that's why I wanted to give us that background, because I'm not seeing, in my opinion, we definitely need to have a source, but it's not on, and the expense, we have to outweigh that. Does anyone have any questions to ask of Jim?
Would we need both the translation and the caption and the audio translation, or can we just upgrade from the caption to the audio translation?
exactly what I was going to ask, Jim. Thank you.
It's a good question. I can take that back to the team. There may be a way to upgrade to the live Spanish audio translation and then also marry the captioning with that service. But I need to do a little bit of follow-up, and then I can provide that answer back through Dr. Mitchell, which she can share with the board for additional follow-up. But I just need to follow up on that nuance. I think it's a good suggestion. I just need to make sure that the technology and the service will allow for that captioning as well, and that there's no additional expense for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Other questions?
Trustee Garcia has a comment and question.
Okay.
So thank you for working on this. Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I was hearing a little bit of a feedback. I wanted to say thank you for
What's the
working on
spelling
this.
hierarchy?
Thank you for working on this and figuring out and providing an update based on our conversation that we have had, and also making some really important changes like adding the Microsoft Team abilities to be able to provide closed captioning in, I think we have 7 languages, at least 7 languages, to make it more accessible to all members of the community. And now, a few months ago, we added the American Sign Language interpreter, again, trying to reach other members of the community that might typically not have access to this important information that affects them in some capacity. In terms of the live Spanish audio interpretation, I definitely think that when we're looking at the numbers, I understand the numbers are really important in understanding the overall traffic, but that's something that we can work with marketing in order to make it more promoted in a way, because if community members do not know that this service is available, they're not going to tune in into a meeting if they don't know that it's available in different languages. So that's where our wonderful marketing team will come in and work with the with our IT department in order to make sure that we're promoting the services, and not only for the board meetings, but for different services that are super important that we get feedback of the community. I did have a question about Kudo. How would that program work?
Kudo is a technology that would be separate to Microsoft Teams. So Kudo would provide the live Spanish translation through their technology. There would be a separate meeting link that interested community members and participants would go to leverage the Kudo technology for the live Spanish audio translation. So it's a separate service. The added benefit there is that for $24,000 a year, we would have the ability to not only utilize that technology for the board meeting, but we could use that for a variety of meetings, events, etc., college-wide. We would have unlimited use of that technology for that purpose outside of the board meeting as well.
Okay, perfect.
But it is a separate technology. When we did talk to them, they said they were working on an integration to Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
But at the time that we had those conversations with them, that integration was not available. So it would be a completely separate and standalone service, technology, and link provided to the community for that purpose.
Okay, perfect. And I think that as a Hispanic serving institution, and also we have data on the district that we serve, there's different languages available or different languages that community members speak. So I think it's worth it, and it's an investment to look at this technology that is available, and to figure out where in our different programs we're able to get the funding in order to provide the services, not only like you mentioned, for the board meeting, but for other programs that we have. And again, making sure that we're promoting it to the best of our ability once we do have those services. So that way, the community is able to be more present and interact and engage, not only in Spanish, but any other languages that we have. And I think we have that data on the different languages available for our community members. So thank you.
Any other questions?
I just would like to I agree with what you said. Let's make sure that we're keeping in mind and look at the need versus the cost of how much this is going to cost, and how much traffic we have. I mean, we did have a jump from 3 to 7, so it might be something like Trustee Gann said, that people need to know about, that we are offering this service. And I think that switching versus having both services sounds like something that's more feasible versus having both of those services. So.
Any other comments? If not, Jim, thank you so much for your report.
Thank you, Trustee Broderick.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Next is 1.1.3, the tax levy for the year 2021, which is a very critical one that we need to hear about.
Right, so I'd like to invite Jeff Heap to the podium. Jeff's here this evening. He'll share with the full board the presentation that he shared with the Finance Committee, I believe it was last week.
Okay.
And just a reminder for those that are not talking, if you could mute your microphone, that would be very helpful. I think you have to aim it. I don't know, he's in it. It's the remote's not working.
Next. Basically, this is the formula the college has to use under the tax cap law. And basically it determines our tax rate, along with what our maximum levy would be if there was no new construction within our district. Basically, the tax cap would limit you to the consumer price index increase. When the FY22 budget was built, these were the parameters used around the tax levy. Approximately a 2.4% increase in the operating funds, and that's comprised of the 1.4% increase in the consumer price index. That's known, that was last year's increase. A little different than what it's trending for the current year. And then approximately 225 million in new construction. And then debt service would be related to our referendum bond from 09 that we refunded in 19 for the last couple of years, and I think about one more year, it's pretty flat, goes up or down a little bit. Then it'll kind of go back to in that 3 to 5% increase till it's finished. So in estimating the 2021 tax levy, as we get further through the year and start to get more information from the county assessors, overall in our district, we're seeing about a 3% increase in the assessed value of existing property. And that's a average everything in. Some will be less, some will be more. New construction is trending higher than what we were expecting. Probably going to be around the $300 million mark from preliminary numbers. And then, like I said, the CPI is known at this point at 1.4%. Basically, under the tax cap scenario, it's been brought up a few times, if we reduced our levy not to capture it, which is the 1.4% for this year, even though our budget was built on it, it'd reduce our levy by approximately $820,000. Since the prior levy is the starting point, you lose that every year, plus any consumer price index adjustments. So cumulative, after 20 years, you'd be looking at a little over $20 million. For debt service, for our alternate revenue bonds, the 2013A, the 2018 and the 2021 that we have currently outstanding, the 2012 and the 2013B were refunded or defeased back in June and replaced with the 2021 for savings. We will abate those. We've done that since they were issued because the capital assessment fee is the funding source. So what we're left with is basically the referendum bond that was passed back in 09. And that's basically just under $7.5 million. So what shows up here is kind of projections, and the only variable in this is new construction. So it kind of assumes assessed value kind of going up 3%. New construction starts from the left at 275 million all the way to 400 million. And then kind of what it shows is what our extension would be under those assumptions. The one kind of slightly highlighted 300 million, that's kind of best guess right now where we'll be. Won't know final levies till we get into March and April when the county clerk finalize them. As a reference point, so I mean, we're thinking excluding debt service would be probably around 59.7 million. The budget was based on approximately 59.4 million. So new construction with being a little bit higher and the actual levy from last year coming in a little higher than what was originally assumed when we were building the budget. I expect to more than meet budget and be a little bit over. As a reference point, since existing assessed value is going up around 3% and the consumer price index is 1.4%, it should continue to drive our rate down just a hair. Last year's rate ended up being just under 29 cents. And it's looking like we'll be at about 0.28 and a quarter as an estimate. From an individual taxpayer standpoint, and originally we started this, kind of went back in 2010 with kind of a $200,000 house. That was the average at that point. And then kind of adjusted its value based on what the district's overall assessed value did, increase or decrease. And after the recession, value was decreasing. Then starting in 2015, started increasing. And really for the last 4 years has been right around that 3% threshold. But, and in essence, for this model house, we're kind of back to where we were, 10 years ago as a market value and surface. Now, some houses, that's an average, individual houses all go up differently in different neighborhoods. But what it shows here is what that house would have paid the college based on this assessed value. And in essence, while it increased, it would have increased basically the consumer price index each year. There's 1 year in 2016 when the state hadn't adopted a budget for a couple of years where we did not abate part of the Build America bonds interest. So it caused our rate to jump up a little bit there. And you see that in 2016 where the debt service was up about $5. Then we abated it this subsequent year and brought it back down. The proposed levy it's based on our budget plus about 1%. So new construction would have to exceed 400 million not to capture it from a levy standpoint. And that's basically consistent with what we've done for the last quite a few years. With CPI only being 1.4%, a little over 1% in new construction, it's not a percentage-wise a very large increase. Excluding debt service, about 2.72% is what the request looks like. The final levy, I expect to be a couple $100,000 below that. So the steps is the tax levy is kind of a two-part adoption, estimated levy, and then final levy. So on the agenda tonight was adopting the estimated levy with we'll publish a notice, even though technically we don't have to publish a notice because our request is under 5%. We've always continued to publish the notice in the paper. And then request for approval at the November meeting and have to file it with the county clerks by the last Tuesday in December.
You can close the PowerPoint. Any questions for Jeff?
No, thank you.
If no one has anything, I would like to say one thing, Jeff. In looking at my bill last year, my tax bill on my home, which is a considerably big home, only went up less than $2. And over the last 10 years, I looked at my tax bills for all of JJC. We have not done anything more than $20 if you looked at up and down for those 10 years. It's been very minimal. So good job in watching and making sure that we're being very real estate and taxpayer watchful over our tax dollars that we're spending. And I think the main thing that we have to be concerned about is that the budget is balanced and that Dr. Mitchell is doing a good job with her administrative team to make sure that we have cuts where needed and we're not overspending. Anyone have any comments for Jeff at all or not?
Thank you.
Yeah, 3 back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
next
Jeff.
on the
Just
agenda,
stay there.
Got the next couple.
I
This
know.
is Jeff again.
1.1.4, the PDF PV
Right.
Midwest Vermont Property Tax Agreement.
Right. We're just going to keep Jeff at the podium for the next couple. So Jeff, if you want to explain the next one.
Jeff, I think you're doing a wonderful job, just so you know. So
This one will be short and sweet. It was kind of dropped in my lap a couple months ago. It'd be Will County School District 92 And then Lockport High School, along with the Will County assessor, basically had, by term, met and negotiated a property tax agreement to extend the agreement that expired back in 2018 on the Lamont refinery. So we had an agreement for tax years 2014 to 18. 2019 was just held flat at the 230 million assessed value. And then this agreement was negotiated this past year, and all the taxing bodies are being asked to approve it. Basically, it increases the assessed value $2 million per year and has $2 million of new construction. If the school districts are good with it, there's nothing we're going to negotiate that's better, and it is a bigger taxpayer that at least you don't have to worry about protests and stuff like that, because it does restrict them from filing any tax protests and stuff. One thing I do not know, because I have not gotten an update out of Stu Witt, is who else has approved the agreement, and I will track that down before, depending on what other questions the board has, before we'd ask the board to vote on it at the November meeting. But I
Right,
know the school districts have approved it, and White Oak Library has approved it.
right. And this was presented to the financial committee as well. So trustee Mahalik was there, and he too, and spoke on behalf of the board that, the board always likes to see that the other approval dates are listed prior to our vote. So that was the conversation held at that meeting. So this would come forward next month for approval, with hopefully more of those approval dates added in.
Is there a background as to why they're doing this? Are they doing upgrades to the refinery or what?
I view it more as school districts look at it. This is a big chunk of their budget, of their
Right.
tax levy, that if everybody's willing to sign a tax agreement, it's a one number, and there's no potential for tax protests.
Okay,
So,
so no
so it's,
PTAS at all.
so it's a safe play is basically what
Yes.
is going on, so.
I
which
mean,
is
when you
good.
get into these bigger corporate ones, I mean, you got this refinery, you have Exxon Mobil that is primarily the Shanahan School District and Joliet High School, I believe. And then you get into Dresden and Braidwood nuclear power plants. They make up such a larger percent of those school districts' budgets that it's nice to know what to expect for the next 3 to 5 years and
Yeah,
have no surprises.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, good. Any questions for Jeff on this one? Any more? If not, thank you, Jeff, and we'll move on to 1.1.5, the GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy LLC.
Yes, a little more of a story on this one. This is basically the Coal City taxing bodies, basically the same taxing districts involved in Dresden nuclear power plant. They're basically asking, and basically everybody else has approved this now, for an IGA related to the GE Hitachi facility there. It's basically next door to Dresden. What it is a nuclear storage facility for spent nuclear rods. It's been there for at least 40 years, maybe even a little longer. And with all the stuff going on with the state of Illinois concerning an energy bill this past summer, and whether Dresden and Byron were going to close, basically Whitlaw and Coal City School District were doing a lot of research. They came across some information on how much revenue GE Hitachi potentially was receiving for storing those nuclear rods. So they're looking at it that they view this property as vastly underassessed in valuation. The current assessed value is only like 3.1 million, has been in that neighborhood for years. If you look at it from a rental standpoint, they're thinking it should be
30 something or plus million,
a
right?
minimum of 10 times that, and maybe even 20 or 30 times that. The group there's enough of them together. They were having an appraisal done. I don't believe they've gotten the appraisal yet. The Grundy assessor did basically just leave the facility assessed at the 3.1 million. That was published at just a couple weeks ago at the end of September. And I know at least Coal City and the fire district, and I think the library was on board. Have not heard if the township, they are protesting the assessed value of this property. Kind of a twofold request of, do we want to join the IGA to share in some of the costs? Our share would be approximately 5.7%. I don't see us spending more than probably in that $3,000 to $4,000 range is an estimate right now. I referenced 5 in here just to be on the top end. And then referencing whether or not the board wanted to be a party of the tax, of protesting the assessed value. And I may turn it over to Jake if I can at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we gain to be a named person on this protest. All we're gonna do is upset some people and ruffle some feathers. So I'm not sure if we just contribute and just say we don't want to be listed, or if we just say no, we don't want to be part of this at all. I don't know what's the other board members' thoughts on this.
I mean, one thing is we're tax cap. So even if the assessed value went up, it really, while they might pay us more, it really wouldn't contribute any more revenue to the college.
So it's not going to be very beneficial to us. So I don't know, Maureen or Michelle or Jim, you have any thoughts on this? I was basically thinking if we want to go ahead and support our feeder districts, we go ahead and we contribute our share to them and say we just don't want to be listed on the suit. Is what we were thinking. So Maureen, you're on mute. You're still on mute.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay. I would have to agree with you, Jake, because I don't want us listed. I don't think we need to be listed. Mm-hmm. But if there's a contribution that we have to in order to get this, I would say fine. Mm-hmm. I don't know how the rest of the board, but from a financial perspective, I just don't want to see us listed.
I also don't want to steal Jeff's thunder, because he was the one that advised that as well, and so did Dr. Mitchell. So as we were discussing it, I think we both all came to the conclusion that that's probably the way that we want to go. So,
Jim and Michelle, how do you feel? And Nancy, how do you feel? And David?
I think contributing is a good thing, but if it's not going to give us any extra benefit, I don't see the point in putting our name out there where we could catch some flack back from that. So
yeah.
Okay, Jim or Nancy or David?
I agree with Jake.
Okay, David?
I'm in agreement with Trustee Lee.
Okay, Nancy? Trustee Garcia?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the recommendation not to be listed. Mm-hmm.
Great. I thank you, Jeff, for your presentations on all 3 of those items.
Thank you.
Best financial committee out there. You guys did a great job, so appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, next is a moment of silence, and I'm going to read off the names of Nicholas Morales, which is the father of our trustee, Alicia Morales, who just passed away this past week. Marion Morgan, mother of Charles Chuck Morgan in the finance arts. James Charles McFarland, uncle of Jim Sir in the information technology area. Robert McDougall, father of JJC head football coach. Alfred Rancini, the retired professor and guidance counselor, grandfather of Lauren Winarski, spouse of Mark Winarski, and in the information technology area. So let's have a moment of silence for all of them. And if anyone has anyone that I have missed, please include them and speak up and include them. Otherwise, let's bow our heads. Thank you.
Hey, Maureen, can I add something too? Sure. I just want to say, to bring the uplifting spirit on Moment of Silence, I'd like to say congratulations to Trustee Morales. She found out she's having a grandbaby boy, so it's a good news, and we're happy to hear that as well. So Jim and I were talking to her after we went to dinner at the conference, and she texted us and let us know that she's having a baby boy. So which is great news to
That's always
uplift
a
the
good
family.
thing.
So
That's always a good
that's
thing.
good.
Thank you, Jake. All right. Joan, do we have any recognition of any special guests, even though we know everyone at the meeting is a special?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right. Next, I have 1.4.1 Board of Trustee approval of the Native American Heritage Month proclamation. Can I get Jim to read that for us?
Oh, hold on. I actually
You
have
have
a
somebody else to
student here to read.
Then
Trustee Vice Chair Broderick. I'd like to introduce Mansi Patel, who's a freshman in her first semester at JJC. She is majoring in molecular biology and would like to attend medical school once she graduates from JJC. Mansi also serves as a member of student government. Welcome, Mansi. She's on remote.
Thanks for being here, Monty.
Hi.
Go ahead, Mike. Please read it.
Native American Heritage Month, whereas people of Native American ancestry have played a major part in the history of the United States, and whereas it is the goal of Joliet Junior College to provide a student with a comprehensive curricular and co-curricular educational experience, with consideration given to the contributions of all socially identifiable groups within American history and culture. And whereas people of Native American ancestry have played and continue to play a vital role in the economic, cultural, social, political, and geographic development of the United States, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College, District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, Counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, hereby recognizes and designates the month of November as Native American Heritage Month in Illinois Community College, District Number 525. Adopted this 28th day of October 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize that. All right, we have a first and a second. Please call roll.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
me,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Broderick,
Aye.
and Budzinski.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much.
And great reading. Those are difficult. They're kind of tongue twisters. So
Mhm. They are. All right, next. 1.4.2 Faculty Union Report from Dr. Bob Marsink. Bob, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I hope you can
Great.
hear me.
We're looking forward to your report.
Well, first I want to welcome you back. I know I didn't know of your situation until the committee meeting a couple of weeks ago, but I'm glad to see you on the mend. And you're looking spry. So
Well, after being in coma for 10 days, it's kind of difficult to come back.
well, anyway, I thank God that it worked out well for you. So,
Thank you.
a couple of things that came up this evening, I want to just comment on. Kristen's report earlier. One of the things that came up in a meeting I was at last week with local was the dearth of teachers in Illinois and across the country. And I know we have an AA in elementary education. I just don't want us to forget that. I know that didn't come up in the report, but we need teachers, and we can start that process here at JJC. And it's incredibly important that we train a new young teaching workforce because of all the retirements that are taking place and all the people who have left because of COVID and other issues. So it's a really important issue. Was brought up at our meeting by Senator Capel, actually. And I just want to put that on the list of things. And we do a great job here of getting people started in that direction, and I hope we continue to do so and emphasize that going forward. I do also want to agree with Trustee Garcia Guillen in regards to the Spanish language translation. It's not just the written translation, but the vocal translation. I think she made some excellent points about how, yes, our numbers may not be great, but right now we're not broadcasting it, right? So when people were reading, I think it's very possible that once people can hear the meeting, that we will get some more people. And even if we don't, the numbers clearly show that not only are we a Hispanic serving institution, but our numbers have continued to rise in those areas. And we have sometimes parents and sometimes grandparents who would really be served well if we were able to provide that service. And I'm not here to spend the college's money, but I just want to lend our support to that effort. Couple of other things. I know, and I'm not going to jinx anybody because you're voting on it later, but I just want to mention something about the tenure process and how difficult it's been, particularly for faculty who have had to do it primarily through COVID. It's been really difficult for them. It's a difficult process as we have already set it up, and then have to go through that process and getting evaluations and getting student evaluations and trying to create courses in the middle of that in order to move them online. While it was incredibly difficult process for these two faculty who are up for tonight. I'm not going to jinx anybody, but I just want you to know that I went through this 25 years ago. Well, not quite. I came here 25 years ago, so 23 years ago, 2 years ago. And I found it very challenging then. But to think that to do it while we're going through a pandemic, and then I have to take all my classes and make them from face to face to online or a hybrid format, incredibly difficult. I know when I started, I limited myself to the minimum number of courses that I could teach in order to be full time, so that I could go through the tenure process and perform it well. To think of what they've gone through, I just want you to know that they've worked hard, and I fully anticipate a good result, but I will not mention names. And the final thing, I don't even know that I really want to mention this, is that as you all know, nationally there are a couple of bills, huge bills that are working their way through Congress. One is infrastructure, and the other is a human infrastructure. And it's appearing more and more that one of the things will be dropped from that is free community college, and that's very unfortunate for students. That was something that would have been wonderful to provide for students, but there have to be other priorities. Maybe it will resurface later. Who knows? Maybe it'll stay in the bill. I don't know. But I was disappointed to see that today and hear about that today. So I hope that we continue to do whatever we can to support our students as we go forward, as I know we will. And I think that is about all I have for this evening. As always, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope you're all doing well. Take care.
Thank you, Bob, for the report. And I know that the tenure process is a difficult process. I've been told about that. And for those who commit to it, it's a great thing. And I thank all our faculty and staff who do commit to that, because we benefit from you guys, and we really appreciate all the work and effort you guys put into the college. Okay.
Thank you, Jake.
Yes, great report, Bob. And just to give you a heads up from the Illinois Community College Trustees Group, the free community college tuition is ongoing in discussion format. So we do support, and I mean, we want to make sure we have the ability to do, but that is something that is still being discussed, even with our people in the political scene too.
That's good. It's good to
Thank
hear.
you for mentioning that. Any other comments or questions for Bob? If not, we'll move on to Laurel's report 1.43, the Adjunct Faculty Union report.
Ms. Disco is not here tonight, so she has no report.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, we need the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of September 8th, 2021. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Bazinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
and Broderick.
Aye. Okay, next I need an approval of the minutes for the special meeting on October 7th, 2021. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Bazinski,
Yes.
and Broderick.
Aye. Thank you. Ms. Tierney, do we have any communications that you need to share with the board at this time?
No further communications, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I need approval of the agenda as stated that you have in your book board.
So moved.
Okay, just a reminder that we're striking 4.2.3.
I'm going to take that out of the consent agenda, though.
Okay.
I would also like to ask to pull 7.2.
I
Okay.
think that's at the next
We're in
point. You
the
gotta.
approval of the agenda,
Thank you.
not the consent agenda. So I need an approval of the agenda as it's read now. The consent agenda, we will then pull any item out of.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Bazinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
and Broderick.
Aye. All right, I need a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
I would like to pull 8.5 and 8.
Second, and then we can identify the polls.
Okay.
You need a second?
Oh, so I'll second the motion.
Okay, do we have any items that need to be pulled?
Yes, 8.5 and 8.7. I would like to refer them back to the policy committee for further review.
Okay, 8.5 and 8.7.
Yes, please.
Okay, roll call, please.
President Mitchell, did you want to pull an agenda?
Pardon. We want to pull 4.2.3 contractual
Correct.
service out of the consent agenda. Roll call.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Bazinski,
Yes.
and Broderick.
Aye. All right. Now I need a motion on 8.5, which is the environmental health and safety.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion.
I would like to pull that back to the policy review committee. That was one of them that we didn't get to look at. And I just would like to look at 8.5 and 8.7 a little bit further before we pass them along.
Any other comments for discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Bazinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
and Broderick.
Aye. Next is 8.7, the exposure control plan. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Same as before. I would just like to look at them for further review in the policy committee.
All right. Any other discussion, questions, comments? If not, roll call.
Lee, Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Bazinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen,
Yes.
and Broderick.
Aye. Okay. We are on to student development. No action required. New business or old business? Do we have any new business or old business at this time?
7.2 under new business, I would also, that did not go through the policy committee, and I would like to take a further look at that one as well.
Okay, any other? Anybody else with new or old business?
No, can I just, to be clear, you would like both of the first reads brought to the policy committee?
Yes, no, just 7.2.
Just 7.2, okay.
I don't know if this falls under new business, but I just want to say I'm very thankful for all the work that the college and staff does, because I think they're doing a wonderful job. I know they're running for meetings all the time, but thank you again. I appreciate the cabinet. I appreciate all the students, the faculty, staff, the students, everything at the college. I think it's a great environment, and just want to say that to everyone, okay?
Great, thanks, Greg. Any other
Thank
comments?
you very much, Trustee Mahalik.
If not, let's move on. New business is already considered. Old business, approval and third reading is in the consent agenda. Reports. The JJC report. Ms. Christy Mulvey, could you please provide us with that?
Sure. Good evening. Kelly Baker, our scholarship specialist, will be holding 4 virtual training sessions on applying for scholarships on October 28th from 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, and November 16th, 1 to 2 and 3 to 4. We already have over 20 students signed up for our first training. Award Spring is live on the website for spring semester and will be open for scholarship applicants until November 30th. So far, in just 5 days, 599 students have applied for scholarships. Total scholarships awarded during the last fiscal year was $870,000. Joan Tierney has a stack of scholarship flyers in both English and Spanish for you to share with the community. I can also email you an electronic copy of either of those flyers for you to email to your friends and neighbors. So let me know if any of the trustees are interested in the electronic copy of the scholarship brochure. Our annual 5K run walk was held this past Sunday with 280 participating in the event. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Dr. Judy Mitchell and Dr. Yolanda Farmer for attending the event and supporting our students. And as most of you know, all the proceeds to any of the foundation events all goes towards scholarships. We continue to receive student emergency applications. $70,000 was awarded to help our students this past year with everything from food and transportation costs to books and tuition. The next foundation board meeting will be our annual meeting on Wednesday, November 17th at 7:30 a.m. This is the end of my report unless anybody has any questions.
May I give a shout out to Judy, because she was at the conference with us, and all she was thinking about was attending that 5K. So she was working out. She went to the gym every single day. She walked she did the elliptical, I think she told me, because she thought it was uphill for some reason. I don't know why that was, but
Yeah.
she was thinking about that, and she said she had to fly out in the morning to go there. So
You know what? She didn't get in until 2 o'clock in the morning.
I'm well aware of that.
And
I think
pulled 2 grandchildren in a wagon 3.2 miles. So
you know what? And I also, Christy, I also think that she stayed up all night long and she hit that treadmill.
Really?
Uphill and
I
downhill.
did.
all
Don't
night
tell
long.
my little secrets.
So she was good. So I
a
want to give a
great
shout out
event.
to her. So, and whoever else participated in that walk, that's a great event. Next year, when my boys are old enough to both walk, we're going to be doing that together with them. Okay.
Thank you.
That's great. Great report, Kristen. Just to give you a heads up, since I, had a lovely stay at Silver for 30 days, I did get to talk to most of the RNs and the CNAs that are going to be applying now for scholarship money, because they were like, really? Oh my God, I've got to apply for scholarship money. So I was doing a lot of inquisitions of where they were going to school, and JJC was well known at Silver Cross for the month of September.
There you go. Well, as of 5 days, we're almost to 600. Last year, all of fall applications was 1,200. So we're 50% of where we were the whole time last fall. So they're really signing up and the word is getting out. So
that's good
for our marketing department. Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Christy, for the report.
All right, next is the ICCTA report by me. Oh boy. Just to let you know, all the trustees that did attend the ACC convention last week, San Diego, Jake and Jim, Judith, Dr. Mitchell was there, Alicia Morales was there, and I'm trying to think, was David, were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, David
So was
there,
Dan too, so.
Dan was there.
Yeah.
Next month, due to the protocol that we have, each of you need to be prepared to do a presentation on what things that you had attended, what sessions you had attended, what you got out of the conference, because that's part of what we have to give back to our basically our visual people to see and understand why we attend these conferences, because it's very beneficial to us to learn and get educated as a trustee. So if next month at the regular meeting, you can have something when we do the ICCTA report, that would be great, and that you're prepared to provide for that. There were 1,100 trustees that attended. It was a well-attended function. And unfortunately, I wish I could have been there, but, you know, couldn't because of health reasons, and I missed it. But the nice thing is we had some nice people elected to positions, and I want to read this to you. The three Illinois trustees that were elected are the College of DuPage, Dr. Maureen Dunn, from the Central Region Director of the ACCT Board of Directors. Danville Area Community College's Greg Wolf was elected as the chair of the ACCT Central Region Nominating Committee, and the College of Lake County, Tori Newsom, ACCT Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, she had on too, which is great. We have Illinois representation in ACCT. And then I want to finish with another statistical thing. So bear with me for a second. And just so you know, the Illinois General Assembly will reconvene October 26th to 28th, and we should have some more things going on in the Senate assignments and House Rules Committee to identify what's going on during that period of time. They did convene October 19th to the 21st, so we'll get more out of that from our ICCTA political person that works with us on that. And in regards to, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we have a student, a 10-year-old JJC student, Benjamin Bombarak, that is going to have his associate's degree by next year, apparently. And I don't know if Dr. Mitchell was going to cover that, but I thought I'd mention that because that was brought up in the ICCTA news of JJC having an outstanding younger student. I think he's 10 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So they were all excited to hear that we have such great excitement with a younger student that wants to take some very intense classes and is doing very well. And then the next ICCTA meeting is the second Friday and Saturday in November that I will be virtually attending to get information on that. And that concludes the ICCTA report. And David, you are next with the student trustee report.
Thank you. How's it going, everyone? Good night, or good evening, I should say. So yeah, it's been quite a couple weeks. I've been quite busy. Recently just got back from ACCT, as Trustee Broderick mentioned. But yeah, so let's get started. So like I said, I have quite a bit to talk about. I got the ACCT conference, the trustee show, student government, Latinx heritage events, Blazer, Active Minds guest speaker, and the club, mental health, first aid, OSA, free meal kits, Main Street, and clubs. So as you know, I went to ACCT in San Diego. It was a great experience. As Trustee Broderick said, I'll have a whole report, on what sessions I attended next month. But yeah, I had to include the steak on there. One of the best steaks I had. I'm not kidding. Oh, that'll go down in history right there. But it was great meeting a bunch of student trustees. I was able to join this student trustee advisory committee, and we're now working on some things. I won't give it away, but we are working on things for Washington, D.C. at the moment. And it was just good meeting other student trustees, you know, bouncing ideas off of them, how they're doing things at their school. And yeah, kind of just seeing what's going on there. And I also got to see some family down there that I haven't seen in about 10 years. So it was good to see them as well. But like I said, I'll provide a more detailed report on in terms of what sessions I attended, what I learned, and things like that next meeting. But just want to say shout out to everyone, all the trustees that came, Dr. Mitchell, Carl Buck, all the people that attended. We had a good time, and I'm glad I went and got a little vacation in the sun. So
I'm just impressed with your bottomless stomach, David. I wish you knew where you put that stuff at. So.
Oh yes, yes, 2 steaks in 1 meal.
Yeah.
But yes, like I said, the food was amazing in California. Also like to mention that my trustee show, and I actually has a title now, it's called David's Time, just dropped October 7th, was sent out, and I interviewed Elizabeth Bell from the Tutoring and Learning Center. She also played the accordion on YouTube live, so just saying, that's something to check out. Pretty soon it'll be Dr. Mitchell too. Yeah, so it got posted on the JJC-Media Services YouTube channel. You can check it out. I put the link right there. If you need it, I'll send it out as well. But it's up there. It's about 17 minutes. The first half is just introductions. Second half, I do the interview portion. Third, I have my guests play the accordion. And then fourth, I actually go YouTube style with a mic, go around campus, interviewing students. And the question of the day was, what's one thing you love about JJC? So trying to just, you know, seeing what students are up to, seeing what students think about JJC.
It was great.
Thank you. Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. More to come. More to come. I'm going to do those street, I guess I call them street interviews every episode. So there'll be a different question every time. But yeah. And then you know, going back to ACCT, one of the things I found a little funny, but not that funny, but I was talking to other student trustees and they were like, oh yeah, my student government, oh, I have so many problems with them. Oh my gosh. And I could not relate. And I love it because we are a small group in student government, but we're one mighty group, I will say. Right now we have interim president, interim vice president, and a secretary, but there's a lot of things in the works. I don't want to give too much away at the moment, but they're working on Socktober. So one of the biggest things homeless people don't have is socks. So we're partnering with Chief Campbell and his people, and we're going to be helping get socks. So we have some drop-off locations right there, D10, JJC Police Department, and we're going to be basically partnering to get donations for socks. But one of the biggest things student government's working on, they kind of got these pillars, as you can see: representation, collaboration, visibility, community, and service. So they're planning events, virtual events, in-person events based on those pillars. And yeah, it's been hard having to rebuild student government, but with the people we have right now, I have no doubt in my mind we will be very successful. We do have some things in the works, but I will have an update for you hopefully next month to see what's going on. But as I said, student government is very busy. Subcommittees, they were actually just on campus today. They were doing a poster event, trying to put out some positive reinforcement posters, working on those around campus. So there's a lot in the works. We just gotta really work hard at it, especially with this pre-COVID, I should say post-COVID environment where everything's kind of iffy. So I just want to give a big shout out to my student government. They're awesome. They're all friends of mine, and we're gonna get some work done this year. So, and then just to give you some Latinx heritage events that went on, we had the Latinos Perspective series, Samo Samo, kind of focusing on mental health in the Latinx community, which is very different than any other community. Specifically, I should say it's different in minority communities. So that I went to that event. That was a really good event hosted by Jessica Contreras. Then there was a luncheon, which I wasn't able to go to. They actually put in the movie Bajo de la Misma Luna, which is a very sad movie. If you ever seen it, oh, it gets me every time. And We also had the Latinx Perspective series, the political image of Latinos in the U.S. Then we had another one, Walk of the Immigrants, which I'm still looking for the recording. I heard it was really good. Everyone who attended really loved it. So I want to watch it still. I need the recording. And then we had a Dia de los Muertos. So that's kind of explaining what it's about, why we celebrate it, things like that. So that's what's going on. That's what's happened. And yeah, it's been good so far. And then we had the latest Blazer article come out. We had quite a bit of articles. I know Dr. Mitchell, you were also in it as well. But as I say, I just want to give them a shout out as well. Always doing some great work, great articles, and check out the latest Blazer. And then another one I'd like to somewhat give a shout out to as well. Active Minds is a new club that just started. They're kind of, in a sense, they're a club that raises, they have conversations about mental health. They raise awareness about mental health. And recently they've been inviting a lot of guest speakers to talk about mental health. So specifically right here, if you see my poster, Minority Mental Health, which I kind of mentioned earlier with Diana Chow, they've been having, I think they had like 3, and they've all been, I think another one was about having a disability and mental health. So they're really, I think they have like 40 members from last time I checked, which is really good for a post-COVID club. A lot of clubs are, 10, 8, 12, things like that, but they have like 30 to 40 members right now. It's insane in a good way, of course. Just as you can tell, it kind of emphasizes that need for mental health services for sure during this time period. So again, just give them a quick shout out as well. They're doing some great things in terms of the mental health aspect of JJC. And then we also have mental health first aid available. OSA made me aware of this one. So this is kind of a training to help intervene with people who are going through a mental health crisis. I believe I'm going to attend this one. I really want to learn how to do this. And I think this is pretty important, especially like I just mentioned during these times where mental health is really just, it's tough right now. It's really tough for a lot of people everywhere, no matter where you are. So having this training is definitely a good skill to have, especially nowadays. And then, as I mentioned last time, we have OSA free meal kits for people with who have trouble affording food. We have this month is the chicken fried rice recipe. And then, as I said last time, this kit includes a recipe card, non-perishable items, and an Aldi gift card for the perishables. Feeds 4 to 6 people. And last time it was on main campus, but it's to try to extend the opportunities to more students. They're going to have pickup at Romeoville campus on November 10th. So awesome. It's going to be great. And I just think it's just a great thing that what OSA is doing for people at JJC. So. And then we also had Main Street. This was a good event. We had about 35 clubs out there. In the past, we used to have about 60, but COVID happened. So we had about 30 clubs. As you can see, it was pretty full. It was 2 days. The 14th was a virtual event, and then the 15th and 16th were in the picnic grove outside. That's when basically for those of you who are new, Main Street's kind of a recruitment event for the clubs. They all table to try and get people to join the clubs. And, students walk by, they see a club they're interested in, they stop by, they talk to the leaders. And that's essentially what Main Street is. So I was with student government. But like I said, we had about 35 clubs out there. Dr. Mitchell was, I think you tabled the 16th, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. But again, a great event for recruitment, especially during these times where clubs and engaging students in activities is a little bit more difficult than it used to be back in the day. But so far it went well. At least in terms of student government, we got like 40, I think it was like 20 signatures. Yeah, 20 signatures. I heard about clubs getting more than that. So that's pretty good. So yeah, shout out to all the clubs that attended, and we had fun that day. So. And then just another couple things, club shout outs. The AIGA, which is like an architect club here at JJC. They've been having a lot of speakers to try and network and get a feel for the actual field of architect. So that's that first one with Catherine Serrato. And then Latinos Unidos is hosting a costume contest where you can actually win something. So we did this kind of last year back when I was president. And yeah, so that's cool. And then Disability Awareness, they had a nice event where they kind of had a forum, and I believe it got posted on YouTube if I'm correct. And it was really good, very good event. Recommend going back and watching that. And then another one is Orthotics and Prosthetics is doing a doll drive, and I found this really cool. They're doing a doll drive so that they can make dolls with prosthetics. They're gonna use machines here and make prosthetics for the dolls and give them to kids in hospitals or kids who have prosthetics, so they have a doll that looks like them they can relate to. So I thought that was really cool. So I just want to give everyone here a shout out. Again, doing a great job. I have faith everything will rebuild itself. So and going through my PowerPoint, I'm just puts a smile on my face, knowing that everyone's doing some great things out there in Joliet Junior College. So yeah, so that was my report. I had quite a bit to talk about today. Do we have any questions?
No, David, I'd like to just say thank you for your involvement, and you're really dived in this and you really accepted the role. So thank you for being part of this, and thank you for leading the campus community for the students. Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Mahalik.
Yeah,
Great report, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I've got to
I
say,
wanted to say you always do such a great job, so thank you. I really like the sock idea. My mom my mom went and bought socks and put stuff in it, and that is something like that she does, is kind of to give back, and it teaches my kids to do that. So that's really great that you guys are doing that and that you notice those little things about the community. Thank you very much for all your hard work you put into being a trustee. You do a great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you again for the wonderful presentation. Sorry, Maureen, I cut you off. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. And also, I'm glad to see the students being engaged in a different way, virtually as well as on campus. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Back to you, Maureen.
yeah, David, great report. And the funny thing is, when you talked about the sock drive, I was listening this morning, and do you know that the socks is the #1 thing needed over underwear? And that was a big thing that they were talking about, how there is such a need for socks. So I'm so glad we're doing that drive, and I'm glad you brought this all to our attention. The report was great. You gave us great dimension of everything that's going on with the students and within the population of the students too. Wonderful, David.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Next, I have Buildings and Ground Committee. Mr.
Well,
Jeff Pollock.
I'm going to be 2 short reports tonight because Jeff stole my thunder on the Finance Committee. So, the Buildings and Grounds Committee, it was included in your packet. I had 2 sick kids today, so I had to rush home. I wasn't able to attend it. So, they both have RSV. So, but I'd like to say that all the information is included in your guys' packet. We approved tonight. So, that's my short report tonight. So.
Great. Do you also want to follow? I know we're going to skip the board policy right now and keep you on since you've got the finance. Do you have anything to add to the Finance Committee report?
No other things to add to it. I think Dr. Mitchell and Jeff covered it greatly. So I strongly recommend I strongly feel like what their recommendations are is what I agree with. Other than that, that's all I had to say. So.
Great. Then we'll go back to the Board Policy Committee. Do I have anything, Michelle, that you need to report on to us?
I would just like to say I'm excited to be a part of the process of reviewing these policies, and that the policy that we have looked over so far is the policy that goes into how we are part of that process and changing that around. Due to Alicia's situation, we did have to cancel one and reschedule, and I need it set up for Zoom for me to attend the policy meetings. So if that can, I did send out an email earlier today about that, because that is an issue. So if we could get that together. But other than that, it is, again, a new committee, but we are excited about working through these policies.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is the president's report. Dr. Mitchell.
Okay, first, David, excellent presentation. So many good things, and I try to participate wherever I can. And so it's so much fun, and the enthusiasm you bring, even despite COVID and the remote operations, he just does a phenomenal job. We had a great time at the conference, and so I really want to commend him. If you haven't watched his first YouTube live, it's amazing. And but if before I'm on there, I want a little bit of a practice on that accordions before I humiliate myself. A couple things that I just wanted to share, and I know the board will provide their update on the ACCT conference, but I attended several sessions, and I thought I would just give a high level tonight. First I have to say that when I go to these presentations, and I shared with my entire team, next year AACC and ACCT, that I want to see our presentations there. Not to say that Joliet Junior College doesn't have room for improvement, but I was so impressed by the work that we do in several of the sessions that I attended, that I am proud of our work, and we are either ahead of or equal to some of these presentations. So I look forward to our presentations next year across the board. There were a couple, though, that I just wanted to highlight. One, and I know Trustee Jake was with me on the data book and the presentation from Kishwaukee College. Mm-hmm. And last year, if you recall, was during your retreat, each of the board members received a fact book, the JJC fact book or a data book that we can build on. And it helps educate the board on the statistics and the numbers that we have. But one of the little extra pieces that they put in this year, and I've already spoken with Kelly about, and so you'll have your new book coming up, but is they actually have color coded. So the board actually knows whether it's red, yellow, green. And so you can monitor these trends. So rather than getting into the weeds per se, but when we come back to you with requests, whether through budget or whether through initiatives, you can monitor throughout the year. If we're at this red, at this yellow or red, where we've got to invest in at the institution. So very high level. So in addition to the data book, we actually are working, my team and I are working on all of our plans that we have, the institutional plan, strategic plan, DEI plan, and IT plan, SEM, and you'll start receiving scorecards. So those scorecards, in essence, will build into this data book that you'll receive once a year. So great information shared by my colleague, Dr. Borowitz, and we're bringing that back to our team, and something that we can, continue to look to enhance to provide the board that information. Another session that I went on that was very informative, and I'm going to share the PowerPoint and the information from the team that presented. It was implementing legally compliant and DEI related language in board policies. And this was a presentation from California colleges, community colleges. And so they provided a great deal of information looking at through the DEI lens for all of our policies and procedures as we review those. So I don't believe Attorney Buck was in there. I don't recall. So I will include you as well as Dr. Morris. But again, they just shared a lot of good input on, what we could look at for, our institutional policies and procedures. So that will be an area that we'll look into. And then I know Trustee Broderick, we talked about this, and there was the legislative piece. And so we will continue to monitor that. They talked about the American Jobs Plan. They talked about the free college, the building better agendas through ACCT and AACC, which, this is something that we'll have to talk about with Kelly Roeder-Tonelli and you, myself, and then Trustee Lozano, hopefully when we head out to Washington, D.C. in February, if all goes well. So I took screenshots of all the slides. I have that information, and it would be nice for us to prepare our talking points to support ACCT when we go to the Federal Legislative Summit. So those were just some of my high level from the conference, but it was excellent as always. And then I just want to say that to share a few updates back home, our C4 implementation is going very well. Our employees are 100% compliant, so it's vax or test. We're still working with the students. We're making significant progress with our students. Dr. Farmer has been working very actively with her division, and Jim Sir, Kelly Roeder-Tonelli, I know they've been actively involved, as well as our ERRG group. Again, we do not want to deter our students from attending Joliet Junior College, is trying to find a way to make it work for them. I'd like to formally congratulate Dr. Farmer on being approved as my new EVP at the college. And thank you to the board for your support. This will, we will continue to make history and continue to build on my legacy as I, create my transition out of the college. And I promised you I would not miss a beat all the way through to the end, and then help to actually onboard our new president as well. And then finally, during October, we had happy birthday to you, Dr. Trustee Garcia Guillen. Your cake is in the refrigerator. And Trustee Broderick, your cake was delivered to your home.
It was.
So happy birthday to both of you. And again, I want to echo Trustee Mahalik, and again, just share, I'm so proud of the work of this team and this college community. They continue to do amazing work. Despite, the struggles that we're all feeling as far as, mental stress, exhaustion, there's remote environment sometimes I think is more exhausting than when we were in person because everyone's online 24/7. And so I want to publicly thank the college community, and I look forward to supporting you throughout. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Great report. All right. Chair's report. Since I'm acting chair tonight, I want to say thank you for all of you working with me tonight for a great meeting that we had for this October 20th. I really appreciate it. All went well as far as I could see. And I'd like to say on a personal note, I did mention several times, yes, I was out. Yes, I had COVID. And unfortunately, I almost died. And I want to thank all of you for your prayers, your support, for administration, for faculty, for staff, for all the personal emails, cards, text messages. You really made it and helped me out, whether you know it or not. It was a big lift, and I'm glad to be back here and breathing again. So I want to say personally, thank you all. It made my day, and it made me feel really good. I thank you for all that support and those prayers. So I look forward to being in attendance at one of the real meetings once I can physically get my walking down and my breathing down and be able to drive. But thank you all. And at that, I think we're ready to have a motion to go into closed session.
We have you back, Maureen.
Pardon me?
We're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Happy, Maureen. Thank God that you recovered so greatly. So,
Well, let's say this: having COVID after having the COVID thing. I'm telling you, it was definitely more so than I ever thought. And anybody that has any questions about COVID, I've learned a lot through this whole experience. But I've got to say, I appreciate all of my medical staff and nurses, and we have some great nurses that we had from JJC that were taking care of me at Silver Cross. So I really appreciate that. But Joan, I need a motion to go into executive session for 2C1, 2C5, 2C6, 2C8, and 2C11.
motion.
Second.
And we will not be coming out to do any business. So there's no need for attendance on it. So Joan, please call roll call.
Mahalik,
Yes.
Bazinski,
Yes.
Garcia Guillen.
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
and Broderick.
Aye. Thank you.